Welcome to That's Taught in Algebra 2, a little video segment where I like to analyze some different concepts that people may or may not have been taught in their own Algebra 2 classes and highlight where it should be taught in Algebra 2 courses currently, if they're following the Common Core standards, that is. Enjoy the intro. All right, so right here we see this young lady says that we should get rid of Algebra 2 because certain things aren't taught in it. Now, I don't know what she was taught in her Algebra 2 class. I don't know what you were taught in your Algebra 2 class. But what I know is what's in the Common Core State Standards. Now, the Common Core State Standards haven't always been around for math. They just came out about a decade ago. And so since then, there have been standards for high school math, specifically in the Algebra 2 area, that deal with money management and budgeting and filing taxes and loan repayment. So I'm going to take you through a problem that I would give to a high school class of juniors. So before we get rid of a whole class, let's just stop and let's take a look at the standards. So if we look at the Common Core standards, we're going to look at 3 standards today. Sorry, we're going to look at 4 standards. We're going to look at FLE2, FLE5, FIF7, and ASSE6. Now, you can look those standards up. Feel free to pause the video and read right on through them if you like. But these are the standards we're going to deal with. Now, we're going to be dealing with this in a particular format. Now, we're going to deal with a formula that I think that all adults in America should know how to at least interact with in some way, shape, or form. Now, I know somebody's out there going to say, I'm this many years old and I've never used this formula. Well, maybe you should, because your pockets will thank you. I promise. This is called the payments formula. When you're trying to figure out how much does your monthly payment need to be in a certain time span to pay back a loan, a debt, a credit. In America, everything's run on credit. So this formula plays a part. And whether you use the formula or not, the formula is using you to an extent because your life, your financial life, is impacted by this particular formula quite a bit. PMT represents the payment each period, each month, or each bi-weekly, depending on how often you're paying. But each time period you pay, that's what PMT is. PV is the present value of the loan or the debt. I is the interest rate expressed as a decimal. Usually we see it as a percent. We have to convert from a percent to a decimal. That's a skill that's also taught throughout school. And N is the number of loan payments, how many total payments we're dealing with. So let's look into a specific example. People go to school, people graduate, and oftentimes when people go to school and graduate, they come up with a little bit of debt. Let's talk about someone who decided to go to school and had a little bit of debt. This is a fictional character I created called Daisy. Daisy wanted to go to good old JSU. She was really excited about it, and she saw that beautiful campus and went ahead and enrolled. Now, Daisy, she left home from Chicago, went to Jackson State. She studied art history, with a theater production minor. Now, she graduated in 4 years, but after that 4-year period, she had a debt of $96,116. And let's say her loans have a static interest rate stuck at 4.5% per year. That means that every year they take the amount of money that she owes, and 4.5% of that is added on. That's called interest. So how much will her monthly payments need to be to pay it off in 10 years? And we're also going to deal with what's the minimum payment that Daisy can make and still make progress to making her total amount go down. Because we know that if you don't pay more than the interest, the debt is going to keep going up. So let's note a few things here. We need to know that 4.5% interest per year, we need to see what that is monthly. If we're making monthly payments, we need to look at interest per month, not interest per year. So we simply divide that by 12. 4.5% broken up into 12 parts is 0.375% of her debt she needs to pay back at minimum per month. That's the interest rate. And of course, we could write that from a decimal to a percent, from a percent to a decimal. We could go back and forth. Now, we could substitute that information right into that formula that we dealt with earlier. PMT equals I times PV over 1 minus 1 plus I to the power of n, negative n. Now, we see here, we put in 0.00375. That's the interest rate per month. $96,116 is the present value of her debt. And 120 comes from the fact that 10 years is 120 total payments because it's 12 months in a year. So 12 times 10 is where that came from. Now we do this calculation and we see that if she wants to pay off her debt in 10 years, she's going to need to pay, after we do that calculation, $996.13 per month, every month, nonstop for 10 years. And then her debt will be completely done. Now that's a hefty payment. That's real hefty. What about what's the smallest amount she can make for payments, period? Now we know it's going to last her longer than 10 years, but what's the lowest payment? And the lowest possible payment would needs to be more than the monthly interest rate. So essentially it's going to need to be greater than 0.375%. So we find out what 0.375% of 96,116 is. We do that through multiplication right here, and we see that the lowest possible payment she can make is $360.44. And actually, if you do the calculation, you see if she makes that payment, it's going to take her approximately 100 years to pay off that debt. But you can do that calculation, because there are many tools out there on the web that help you, many amortization calculators that take your inputs, how much your present value is, what's your interest rate, and how long do you want to pay this for, and helps you do these calculations. And it also can give you different breakdowns. You can find those real easily on Google. Matter of fact, I'm going to link one right down below so you can check it on out, because that's a valuable tool and a valuable resource. Because yes, this program will do it for you, but you also need to understand where it's coming from so you can double check. When it comes to finances, especially when you're talking about moving big bucks like going to college, car loans, house loans, and those types of major loans, you're going to want to double check that math. You don't want to just take it at face value at what the bank or what the seller says to you. Do you really trust somebody else with all your money like that? I know I sure don't. I'm always double checking and triple checking the math, and I suggest you do too. But I want to let you know that it is true. This is taught in Algebra 2. Thank you for tuning in to the first installment. Be sure to tune in for more, where we take a look at common misconceptions about what's not taught in high school math, and I show you the standard that it's connected to and where I would teach it in a class that I'm teaching. Thanks for tuning in. It's been Math Mastermind.